Welcome to the Paragliding XC Stories. In this story, I invite you to join me on a journey from sunny hills over wide valleys to snowy and rocky mountains. Starting from Bassano del Grappa, we will first follow the classic route of the big 100 km triangle. Later in the west, instead of turning back, we will fly a sightseeing tour touching the nature reserve of the Licenia. By the way, if you want to learn how to fly Il Classico di Bassano, the 100 km triangle, you can watch my XC guide video where I explain the whole route step by step. You can also join my Telegram group if you have any questions. Alright, so buckle up, we're taking off. On this day, the air seems to be a bit stable in the lower layers, so I have to search for reliable thermals. Some pilots are flying low, but I want to get some more altitude at the beginning. I will catch these pilots later. Finally, a nice thermal and I can continue. I'll skip the plateau thermal here, so I'll have to get some more altitude further along the slope. As usual, I follow the ridge to the east, right to the first crossing. Here I climb a bit higher for a comfortable crossing. This time I decide to follow this slope instead of thermaling. This slope works reliably every time. Still, the lower layers provide weaker thermals, so the climb takes more time. Now I'm ready to fly to the antenna on this flat ridge, my eastern turn point. There it is, just a few turns in a weak thermal and I glide back along the slope. The thermals are everywhere, but not strong enough to climb quickly, so I circle patiently to gain some height. That's enough, and I move on to the next thermal. To cross the next small valley comfortably, I have to climb over the top of this mountain. After the crossing, as usual, only a few turns and I can fly straight back to the takeoff. I should have climbed more here. The air is still quite stable in the lower layers, so I lost 10 minutes at Antenna Costalunga searching for lift. The pilots who arrived higher quickly found a stronger thermal and flew over the Brenta River. I will catch them later. Once on the other side, I realized that the usual thermals are not strong enough, so instead of climbing slowly, I just continue towards Rubio. This is where my camera went off for some reason, and I only noticed it after I had gained some altitude at the Rubio hill. As usual, this ridge works well, and I fly towards La Verda. It's important to get some altitude before reaching the end of the ridge, and I'm able to pass some pilots who are having trouble finding lift down there. On the way to Louisiana, I hit another thermal and get some altitude. Louisiana works reliably this time, so I can follow the forest slopes to Caltrano. big crossing is next, it's time to climb. The nice thermal here brings me up and I start my crossing to Monte Sumano. As usual, I fly a slight curve around the lee side of the mountain in front of me. Monte Sumano is a really reliable thermal source and I can climb quite fast. Once over the summit, I head west over this small ridge. The air in this area is always pushed by the wind coming from the flats, so I can fly directly to Monte Novegno without thermaling. At Monte Novegno I have to climb over its plateau. It's a bit windy here, but the thermals work well. Now it's on to Monte Cagliano, the last peak here. If I turn around at Monte Cagliano and fly back, I can get a 100 km triangle, but today I want more. Climbing high for the next big crossing to the Pasubio Massif. The pilot below me found a much better line, so we're now at the same altitude. This is the turn point for a 120 km triangle, but today I'll fly a sightseeing route. I continue south. The landscape changes, high mountains, cliffs and snow. Breathtaking scenery. At first I was worried that the southwest wind would put me on the lee side of these mountains, but the whole massif protects me very well from the wind, climbing high and getting close to the mountains. What a contrast after all the green hills of Bassano, climbing in a nice thermal up to the cloud base and then flying over this magnificent ridge. Enjoy the view. This is where I start to notice the rather strong wind. The mountains don't protect me anymore, and the thermals are a bit rough and not easy to use. Still, in a small group, we managed to climb high enough to start a very big crossing back to Monte Sumano. I definitely need another climb somewhere, and the landscape ahead of me looks promising. Notice how fast I am flying with the wind. After some initial searching, I spot a nice thermal and gain a lot of altitude. This thermal drifts a lot with the wind. Now it's safe to glide back to Monte Sumano. No surprises here, Monte Sumano provides reliable lift and I can fly back to Caltrano. Again I fly a slight curve to avoid the huge sink behind the mountain. The first thermal I find here isn't strong enough, so after climbing a bit I search for a better updraft. And here it is, shooting up over the landscape. At At this altitude, I can fly straight back to Antenna Costalunga, making only a few turns along the way. Here at this slope, the air still seems to be quite stable, just like a few hours ago. I try to find a strong thermal, but give up and fly back to the takeoff. Here we are, a nice tour from the green hills to the snowy mountains and back. I hope you enjoyed the ride with me. Some pilots don't like to fly in Bassano because they find the landscape a bit boring. Well, now you have seen that flying in Bassano can indeed be very scenic and full of contrasts. Thank you for watching and feel free to reach out to me via my socials, you can find them in the video description. See you in the next story!